I was standing in the middle of my uncle's giant living room in Dallas, holding a glass of water that shook in my hand. Everyone had stopped eating, all eyes were on me, and my uncle's voice, loud, sharp, full of pride, cut through the room like a knife. "Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I need your help to run this journey, thank you." "Benjamin," he said, pointing at me with his fork, "you still making those little paychecks? What is it now, 20,000 a year?" The whole room laughed. Even the kids. My face went hot, but I forced myself to stay calm. I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't give them the reaction they wanted. Then my cousin, his favorite golden child, lifted her phone. She pressed record. "Come on, Ben," she said, smiling. "Tell us what you do again. Something humble, right?" Maury laughed. My throat felt tight. My chest burned. And then my uncle delivered the line that sliced deeper than anything else. "You're the disappointment of the family. The rest of us are winners. You're a prayer warrior with no results." The glass almost slipped from my hand. But I didn't break. I swallowed hard, forced a straight face, and let the moment burn into my memory. That was the day everything changed. As the laughter rolled on, something shifted inside me, quiet, cold, and steady. They thought they were breaking me. They were setting me on fire. I looked around the room at the people who shared my blood, laughing like strangers on the internet, and a single thought echoed in my mind. They just didn't know it yet. My name is Benjamin Asterisk, and I grew up in Texas in a family where success was measured by two things: money, and how loudly you bragged about it. My uncle ran the family like a boss. His decisions were law. His ego filled every room he walked into. If you didn't fit his version of success, he buried you in jokes, shame, and advice that felt more like insults. I used to think the worst thing in life was to be alone. But I learned something even worse: being surrounded by family who make you feel alone. The first time I realized I was the family joke was in middle school. I came home excited because I won a small art contest. Nothing big, just something that made me proud. My uncle looked at the certificate, then looked at me. "That's cute," he said, "but awards that don't make money stay on refrigerators, not in real life." My cousins laughed. My parents stayed silent. That silence hurt more than the joke. It taught me one thing early. If I wanted support, I'd have to build it myself. My cousins could do anything and be praised for it. They got new cars for graduating. I bought my first used truck with money from a summer job. They got applause for starting internships. I was mocked for working part-time at a local hardware store. At family dinners, my uncle would pull them close, brag about their bright futures, then look at me and say, "Benjamin, you got plans yet, or still preying on it?" It wasn't a question. It was a performance. Everyone saw it. No one stopped it. There was one moment that marked the beginning of the true fracture. I had just graduated high school. I wasn't going to college right away. I wanted to work, save money, and figure out my future. At a small family dinner, my uncle clinked his glass and said, "Let's toast to real success, to kids who actually push themselves." He glanced at me with a smirk. My mom's eyes dropped. My dad's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet. Then one of my cousins whispered loudly, "Maybe Ben will discover his purpose someday. Miracles happen." Maury laughed. My stomach twisted. That day I promised myself something silently. I will build a life so strong they can never laugh at me again. And I won't need their approval to do it. I started working at a small shop in Fort Worth, nothing fancy but honest work. I liked the customers. I liked the peace. I liked earning my own money, even if it wasn't much. But when the family found out, the reaction was immediate. My uncle said, "So you're choosing poverty now, at least choose exciting poverty." My cousins joked that they'd hire me someday to mow their yards. They didn't understand something important. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't stupid. I was simply starting where I could. But they treated my beginning like it was the end. Every night after work, I sat in my small room with a Bible on my lap. Not because I was trying to be holy. Because I needed something steady. Something safe. Something that didn't laugh at me. I prayed for direction. I prayed for strength. I prayed for peace. And I always felt the same quiet message inside. Keep going, I see you. My family didn't. But God did. And that was enough to keep me moving when everything else pushed me down. One night at the shop, I helped an older customer carry lumber to his truck. Nothing special, just being polite. When we finished, he looked at me and said, "You work hard, but you're built for more than this place." I didn't know how to answer. No one ever said something like that to me. He continued, "Do you know what people pay for simple guidance, organization, problem solving? You have the tone and patience for consulting. Start small, charge little, build up." Consulting. Me. I laughed it off, but those words followed me home. That night, sitting with my Bible, something clicked. Maybe God was nudging me towards something bigger. I didn't quit my job. I didn't tell my family. I didn't announce anything. I simply started learning. Every night after work, I watched free videos. Read articles. Took notes. Studied how people built small consulting services from nothing. I practiced writing simple plans. Organizing small business tasks. Helping imaginary clients. It felt weird. But it also felt right. Quiet progress. Silent growth. Something my family couldn't mock because they didn't know it existed. This was the beginning of the long game. My first real client came by accident. A woman at church was struggling to organize her small cleaning business. She was overwhelmed and ready to quit. I offered help free at first, just to practice. Within 2 weeks, her schedules were balanced, her payments were tracked, and she got 3 new customers. She hugged me after service and said, "Benjamin, you have a gift." That sentence hit me harder than any insult my family ever threw. Then she said, "I'm paying you for next month, you earned it." It wasn't much, but it was proof. Maybe I wasn't the failure my family painted me to be. I should have known not to share the news. But I was excited. And stupidly hopeful. At a small cookout, I mentioned I had a consulting client. One. Just one. My uncle burst out laughing. "Consulting, you?" He clapped dramatically. "Who are you consulting, your mirror?" My cousin added, "You're not a consultant, you're a helper, don't confuse the two." My chest tightened. The air felt heavy. I forced a smile, swallowed the anger, and said nothing. Inside, the fire grew hotter. Fine. Laugh now. I'd build something they couldn't laugh at later. Months passed. I worked my job by day and consulted by night. 1 client became 2. 2 became 5. Some paid little. Some paid nothing. But they spread the word. I never bragged. I never rushed. I never let pride get ahead of me. My goals were simple. Serve well. Help honestly. Grow quietly. Every dollar I made, I saved. Every lesson I learned, I wrote down. It felt like laying bricks for a house no one knew existed. A hidden foundation for a future only God and I could see. One day, a small business owner at the shop came in frustrated. He'd been losing clients because he couldn't keep track of orders. I helped him load supplies. We talked. He looked exhausted. I hesitated, then said, "I might be able to help, I do small business planning." He stared at me. "It's you?" I nodded. He said, "Fine, come by tomorrow. If you can fix what's broken, I'll pay you." It was the first time someone hired me not because they knew me, but because they needed me. A real test. A real chance. And I took it. His place was a mess. Paper everywhere. Orders mixed up. Clients angry. But chaos didn't scare me anymore. I organized everything. Set up a system. Built a plan he could follow without stress. 2 weeks later, he told me, "Benjamin, I went from drowning to breathing again." He handed me an envelope with more money than I'd ever been paid at once. My hands shook. Not from greed. From gratitude. This was it. The moment my dream stopped feeling like a dream. But there was something bigger. A twist I didn't see coming. He said, "I told 3 other business owners about you. Expect calls." And the calls came. And kept coming. I didn't change my voice. Didn't change my clothes. Didn't act like I was somebody new. But people started treating me differently. Clients respected me. Strangers trusted me. My work mattered. And without telling anyone, I crossed the income line my uncle bragged about for years. Then crossed it again. And again. Still I stayed silent. The family thought I was still Benjamin the nobody. Good. Let them stay blind. The long game was just beginning. Success didn't make me cocky. But it did make me bold. One Sunday after church, I ran into my uncle and cousins at a restaurant. They didn't greet me. Didn't ask how I was. They just stared like I didn't belong in a place that nice. My uncle said, "You must be lost, Benjamin. Menu here is expensive." I smiled politely. "Actually, I'm meeting a client." His eyebrows rose. He didn't believe me, but he didn't know what to say to that. 20 minutes later, a client walked in, shook my hand and said loudly, "Good to see you, Benjamin. Thanks again for saving my business." My uncle froze. My cousins exchanged looks. That moment wasn't revenge yet. But it was the first crack in their arrogance. One of my cousins, one who used to record my humiliations, reached out to me secretly on social media. "Hey Benjamin, do you still do that business planning stuff? I'm looking to start something." I stared at the message for a long time. The same girl who laughed at my dreams now wanted my help. I replied calmly, "Send your details, I'll take a look." She sent a long explanation. A very long one. Then the twist hit me. She wasn't starting a business. She was running from debt. A lot of it. Her perfect life was falling apart. And she wanted me to fix it. The power shift was no longer subtle. It was real. Bad news travels fast. First it was my cousin with debt. Then I heard whispers that my uncle's business had taken major financial hits. One client pulled out. Then 2. Then 5. People said he was arrogant. Difficult. Disorganized. Funny. Those were the same insults he threw at me for years. Meanwhile, my consulting work grew so fast I had to turn people away. Every night I prayed, "God guide me, keep me humble." But inside, I could feel it. The long game was unfolding on its own. The big collapse came suddenly. I was eating in a small diner when my dad called. "Benjamin, your uncle's business is shutting down." I stopped chewing. What happened? Investors pulled out, he made some risky decisions, he wasn't prepared. Prepared? A word he never allowed me to feel. I didn't celebrate. Didn't smile. I just sat there letting the news sink in. For years, he treated me like the shame of the family. Now he was the embarrassment. Actions have consequences. Arrogance has a limit. I didn't have to destroy him. His pride handled that for me. 3 days later, my uncle's wife called me. Not to apologize. Not to acknowledge anything they'd done. She called because they needed help. Benjamin, your uncle is in trouble. We heard you do business planning. Maybe you could look at things. I closed my eyes. The same family who mocked my work now needed my work to survive. I stayed calm and respectful. I'm booked for the next few months. Her voice cracked. Please, we're desperate. For a moment, I felt a small tug of guilt. But then I remembered the humiliation. The laughter. The years of disrespect. Desperation is a teacher. And they had lessons to learn. They insisted on meeting anyway, just for guidance. So I agreed to one thing. Single conversation. Not help. Not work. Just a meeting. We met at the same house where they once humiliated me. My uncle looked smaller. Defeated. A man who finally ran out of excuses. He cleared his throat. Benjamin, we know we weren't always kind, but we could use your expertise. We'll pay. I watched him closely. The same man who once said my prayers had no results was now waiting for my help. I straightened my back, looked him in the eye, and said quietly, I don't take on clients who don't respect me. His face dropped. He wasn't used to being denied. This wasn't revenge. This was dignity. My uncle wasn't the only one falling. My other cousins were losing jobs. Losing money. Losing stability. All the favorite children who once bragged about success were now calling me with small requests. Can you look over this? Could you help me plan that? Do you have time for advice? I said the same thing every time. I'm fully booked, I'm sorry. Not cruel. Not gloating. Just boundaries. For once in their lives, they felt what I felt for years. Ignored. Dismissed. Unimportant. Life was balancing the scales. Months later, my consulting business passed 6 figures. 6 figures. I sat in my small apartment, holding the financial statement, tears filling my eyes. Not because of money, but because everything they said I couldn't be, I became. Without their approval. Without their help. Without their belief. I remembered something my pastor once told me. When God prepares a table for you, He invites your enemies, not to attack you but to watch. And that's exactly what was happening. My family watched from a distance. As my life bloomed, I didn't attend their gatherings anymore. Didn't check on their drama. Didn't get pulled back into the old cycle. One afternoon, I received a message from my uncle. Long, emotional, apologizing for past attitudes, and asking if we could talk. I read it slowly. Let every memory pass through me. Then I clicked delete asterisk. Not because I hated him. Not because I wanted revenge. Because the story was finally over. My peace didn't need their presence. My success didn't need their approval. My worth never came from them anyway. My life moved forward. Theirs stayed where their pride left them. I stood up, stretched, and whispered to myself. And that was the end. A quiet, powerful ending. Not with revenge, but with freedom. Please do well to drop your comment below. Thank you.